Hello YouTube, my name's General Advanced and this is the first of my weekly guide to units in Men of War Assault Squad. This is the regular German infantry squad and this is going to be the first unit that I do. It's a core infantry unit for Germany. It's one of the most commonly picked up unit and should probably be the most commonly picked up unit for German players. It comes with one machine gunner, 6 riflemen, 2 submachine gunners and a squad leader. The squad leader comes with an extra anti-tank grenade compared to his SMG gunner compatriots. Each of them come with 1 anti-tank grenade, 2 standard grenades. The riflemen come with a single grenade and a sandbag, and the machine gunner comes with a sandbag and plenty of ammunition. Riflemen also carry extra ammunition for machine guns, but it's generally a bit too much micro involved to do that. In combat, generally the riflemen and submachine gunners should be used to cover the machine gun. Unlike in standard infantry doctrine, in German infantry doctrine, the machine gun is the absolute core of the fighting unit. It does the majority of the killing, the majority of the suppressing, the majority of the work within the unit. The rest of your unit should be placed in a spaced out area in cover to try and hold off the enemy from the machine gun. The machine gun on its own, damage wise, can certainly deal with any infantry threats that oppose it. However, as far as health wise, it will die very quickly if left exposed on its own. The riflemen are there to take the shots for the machine gunner, and he is the absolute core of the unit. This is a German regular infantry squad in standard setup procedure to defend a hill. The German machine gunner is in the most commanding position, high up and in heavy cover. The rest of his squad have been set up around him to cover his flanks and rear, and to provide a buffer zone in which any enemy units cannot approach. You can see as enemy infantry move into the area, the MG42 is able to provide fire support from a commanding position. It has an extremely high rate of fire and pretty good damage. The rest of the weapons aren't particularly effective, and the rest of the squad is essentially there to sacrifice itself for the machine gunner. The machine gunner is the most cost efficient unit in the entire squad. However, if he is killed, the squad is very limited in its cost effectiveness. The reason for this is because he costs around 2/3 of the squad. You can see how as the units move into the bushes, the enemy units that is, you can see how they get bogged down. They're unable to move up under the weight of fire from an MG42. Pretty much any attack from the front will fail in this way. Units will start to lose health and gain ground from the enemy infantry. However, you'll pretty much always hold them off in a situation like this, and in a normal combat scenario you'll be reinforcing the front lines as much as you can. You can see how enemy infantry will attack upwards in between bursts from the MG42, throwing grenades, etc. Generally this will gain the enemy some ground, but it will be sorely won. The German infantry around the machine gunner is there to hold off the enemy, and they do this fairly effectively. Even in this extended firefight with the Germans heavily outnumbered, only 1 American infantryman has so far managed to get up, for the cost of 2 German infantrymen and many American lives. This unit is therefore a defensive infantry. In an aggressive stance you're likely to lose your machine gunner due to the lack of cover available in all situations. He is the absolute backbone of this unit, and this unit is the absolute backbone of German infantry play. In this situation, a German irregular infantry squad is trying to assault an enemy fortified position, in this case a large building. Now whilst an MG42 can be used as suppressive fire in this situation, and your firepower is often very much higher than the Americans or any other factions, often you'll find yourself stalling in an offensive action. Even with sandbags and equivalent cover, generally cover is enough to negate the advantage for your extra firepower that an MG42 provides. The way to deal with this generally would be to use assault infantry or some other assault-minded infantry like panzer grenadiers. However, flamethrower infantry are also very effective for this as well. The effect of using flamethrower infantry is akin to using lots of grenades. With effective micro you can evade it very fast. However, it quite quickly burns the units in, and it easily deals with any units in cover. It effectively negates the cover around there. It does come with a flamethrower support infantryman to get there, but generally he shouldn't be relied on to do very much other than maybe throw a grenade into a window or throw an anti-tank grenade to blow up a section of wall. You can see how fire spreads throughout the building. It will eventually cause everybody in the building to panic and flee, or just die of the fire and they'll burn to death. This will allow the regular squad to move up unmolested. This is much cheaper than using an assault infantry squad and a regular squad, and it costs about 60 MP more. It's also much faster. A flamethrower coming in from the right angle using cover effectively will instantly destroy the entire defending infantry, rather than an assault squad which will probably lose at least half its number and maybe not do the job completely. This is a quick way to take infantry held areas, however it's not always very effective against vehicles. Although take into account that a flamethrower can burn vehicles as well, as obviously people inside are vulnerable to flames as well. A useful stopgap for regular German infantry squads is to keep your machine gunner alive or buy a new one whenever he dies, and to replace the regular infantrymen with Volkssturm. Volkssturm can't set up their own defensive positions like a normal regular infantry squad can, and they come with slightly less men and slightly less grenades. They are useful for their grenades, however, as they're extremely cheap. They still maintain their ability to deal with any enemy infantry attacking the zone, but they lack as much holding position. The Volkssturm have much less health, and they are much more easily suppressed. The MG42 will struggle to deal with as many groups of infantry. You can see now that there are around 3 sort of groups of infantry attacking the area, and already the machine gunner is struggling to deal with units moving up in open ground. This makes the Volkssturm a very stopgap measure. They're unable to deal for long periods of time like a regular squad would be with an attack. They're also very poor for dealing with enemy vehicles. An enemy vehicle attack moving in very close or at high speed will normally deal with this very quickly. The reason for this is because Volkssturm submachine gunners, unlike regular submachine gunners, do not come with anti-tank grenades, and the entire squad simply cannot deal with armoured vehicles of any sort. The machine gunner will likely be the last one to survive unless he's focused, especially if he's in a good position. But eventually any light vehicles or even a concerted just normal infantry attack will take this unit out, and you will lose an area. So remember to keep it reinforced and keep your sides covered with anti-tank weaponry, be that in the form of anti-tank guns, rifles or rocket launchers. In this situation, the German infantry squad is again defending an easily defended position. An American infantry squad is attempting to take the point behind them by advancing up along the road and using this riverbed as cover. However, an infantry attack from the front is unable generally to take out a German infantry squad because of their strong defensive position. Normally, in these sorts of attacks, light vehicles will be used, such as this M3 half-track. M3 half-tracks are very vulnerable at all angles to AT rifles. AT rifles are long-range anti-tank weapons, and are very much able, with a few shots, to deal with a half-track. Got to be careful about true injures to hitting to the rear or parts of the vehicle that are not essential. You can see here that although the first shot hit the engine, the vehicle is still pretty much okay, and without killing all the crewmen or completely damaging the vehicle or destroying the vehicle, the unit would continue to fight. In this situation, the enemy squad has been fairly held down. Generally in this situation, heavier armour would be called, as well as further infantry reinforcements, often from a different angle. The reason for this is that they are able to overwhelm the German MG defences. The machine gunner is the anchor to this unit, and if it's unable to fire, generally it can't hold the position. As well as this, tanks will be very much able against this. That's why anti-tank infantry is absolutely essential. Here an infantry unit manages to advance across the bridge. They'll slow down in their advance, but the tank can break through, causing a gap in your defences, and the entire unit can get through well microed. In this situation, an anti-tank rifle would be insufficient, wouldn't damage the armour of a heavily armoured Sherman. Even light and medium vehicles can often resist this. That's why you bring Panzerschrecks. Much shorter range than their equivalent anti-tank rifles, they're much more devastating in their hit. You can see how the hits already destroyed the tank completely, blowing the turret off, killing any infantry nearby, and completely halting an attack. Even with superior numbers, a German infantry squad can hold its position if it's well defended and it has the proper infantry support weapons, such as anti-tank infantry and anti-tank rifle infantry. The last core infantry unit for Germany is Panzergrenadiers. Panzergrenadiers fill a notable hole in the standard German infantry units in that they are an aggressive unit, entirely in use aggressive. This is because both their high skill rating as tier 4 infantry and their very high cost, which means using them as a defensive unit is a waste of cash. They come with 6 Sturmgewehr armed Panzer Grenadiers, 2 Gewehr 43 rifle armed Panzer Grenadiers, and 2 Panzer Grenadiers with 2 Panzerfaust 100s each, as well as 2 MP40s. The Sturmgewehr is what makes the Panzer Grenadiers such a unique unit. Unlike normal tier 4 infantry, which is already extremely powerful, these tier 4 infantry are mostly armed with a modern style assault rifle, the predecessor to the AK-47 in World War II. This means that they are extremely accurate, fast firing and high damage at all ranges that they can reach up to. Their extreme range and point blank range Panzer Grenadiers perform just as well. They also come with 2 Gewehr 43 rifles, which like most semi-automatic rifles are extremely powerful in a normal infantryman's hand, and obviously twice as powerful in a 4-star infantryman's hand. The anti-tank infantry is something that should be talked about, as they are slightly special compared to normal units. They come with 2 Panzerfaust 100s each. These are disposable anti-tank weapons with much higher penetration value. A normal rocket from say a Panzer Schreck has a 120 penetration. A Panzerfaust 100 has a 200 penetration, meaning that you can even penetrate something like a King Tiger from the front if you're lucky, or a Jagdpanther or Tigers very easily. However, they are disposable and they have 20 meters less range compared to a normal one. So you have to be very close to use them, but they are extremely devastating. They also arc slightly and can be very hard to hit. However, they leave very little in the way of a smoke trail or anything, much like a Piat, so they're very hard to deal with. They are only armed with MP40s as the standard German submachine gun. However, in the hands of a 4-star infantryman, almost any weapon is effective, and their effectiveness highlights even more the effectiveness of a Sturmgewehr. One thing to note is that whilst this unit is used to fill a stop gap in the German arsenal in that you lack aggressive infantry, you shouldn't be using this unit always as a core infantry just to attack with. Panzer Grenadiers, like all elite infantry, should be used in a strategic move. You have to have a clear objective to use a unit like this, and you have to do it in a confined area with a confined objective, so that you know whatever can deal with it on the enemy side can't deal with the threat immediately. You should use them generally in a 1-to-1 situation in which they face off against, say, a regular squad or assault infantry squad from any other faction. That's where they'll do the most damage. If they can avoid fighting with any sort of support weaponry or against superior numbers, they will easily clean up, likely with all of them intact. Losing a single Panzer Grenadier can be a serious detriment to this unit, as they are so expensive and so invaluable. Panzer Grenadiers should be used in surgical attacks upon the enemy. A few of them are likely to get killed on the initial attack and run in. However, in close combat, they should be able to out-micro the enemy units. This is because they have extra health compared to normal units, as well as extra grenades and much better close and medium range firepower. You should aim to always use your Panzer Grenadiers in an area in which you already know the enemy is in. This gives you an opportunity to make sure that you know the enemy do not have access to support weapons in the area, as well as meaning that you know the terrain and you can use the fact that these are close range monsters to much better effect. A few of your men will die on the initial run-in, as you can see. However, Panzer Grenadiers have extremely high health and they'll be able to deal with this very well. As well as this, the extra grenade count comes in handy, as you can see. Enemy vehicles which would normally pose a problem for normal infantry do not pose a problem for Panzer Grenadiers. The reason for this is because Panzer Grenadiers come equipped with 2 Panzerfaust infantry. The Panzerfaust infantry are quite inaccurate sometimes, however when they hit they do extreme damage and very good penetration. They have very short range however, and as you can see, the man equipped with the Panzerfaust is the most likely to die whenever a vehicle comes close, as he is normally the one who has to be on the point end of an attack.